Hello, I'm Mr. Malden, and this is the Middle School Math Toolbox, where I teach you how to become a middle school math master. So if you're interested in that, hit the subscribe button down below, like this, and send it to your friends. But we're going to get right into relative frequency and looking at pie charts. So we've been going over data analysis. If you want to see some of the other videos, you can go to the same folder that this is put in. You can look at all those different videos for the data analysis, measures of central tendency, IQR range, all those different things. But for this lesson, we're just going to focus on relative frequency and how to make a pie chart. All right, so let's just jump right into this. Frequency table, it's just kind of our way of being able to display the frequencies of various responses in a particular category. So if we were going out and we were just collecting data, maybe we had a quantifiable question that we wanted to ask, we ask individuals, like in this case right here, out of red, white, and blue, if we went to 50 different students and asked them which one is your favorite out of those three colors, all right? Well, we're asking a question to somebody, all right, that we can generate some kind of quantifiable, results from. If 20 chose red and 18 chose blue and 12 chose white, well, we could display that inside of a frequency table just to make that a little bit more clear for whoever we're presenting the data to, all right? So frequency tables are just tables that show the frequency of something occurring, all right? This is the one that you see on the screen, a one-way frequency table, because you see there's just one variable that we're considering, just their favorite color. That's all we're recording numbers from, right? But if we split up our results into not only what was their favorite color, but we split it up into another variable or another thing to kind of consider, and that's their gender. Well, now you've got two different variables that we're recording information for on this table right here. So this is called a two-way frequency table, all right? Because there's two different variables. The favorite color, red, white, or blue, and then male or female, all right? So two different things that we're kind of considering. When you put all that information on there, all right, well, there's still 20 individuals who liked red. Now we've just split them up into male and female, all right? 12 of those are male, 8 are female, all right? There's still 18 that liked blue, but now we know that 2 of those that liked blue are male, and 16, overwhelming majority, is female, all right, and so on and so forth. So two-way frequency table is just simply showing the numbers for two different variables, all right? And we could take it a step further, and we could start calculating the relative frequency. Relative frequency, the definition there on the screen, is how often something happens divided by all the outcomes, all right? It seems maybe a complicated definition. It's a really simple process. You just think about your selected outcomes. So let's just think about those who chose red, all right? Those who chose red are 20, all right? And you think about that as a portion of the whole. 20 is not all the individuals who were inside the survey. It was just those individuals who chose red. So you've got the part that chose red, all right? And then you've got the whole of individuals that were asked, that were asked the question in the survey, all right? So the portion that chose survey, or the relative frequency, is 20 divided by 50, or 20 over 50, right? And when you do that math, you're going to find 0.40, all right? Because 20/50, you just take 20 divided by 50, and you're going to get 0.40, all right? So the relative frequency is just the part out of the whole. And you can represent that as a fraction. A lot of times we like to represent relative frequency as a decimal, but if you have fractions, that decimals and percents kind of go with fractions, because there's 3 different ways to kind of represent the number. And sometimes we like to represent it as a fraction, and sometimes we like to represent it as a decimal, and sometimes we like to represent it as a percent, like we're going to see a little bit later when we start working on the pie charts, all right? But the way to get that relative frequency is just to think about your intended outcome. So the relative frequency of red, which is that first row, all right, this relative frequency of red is 20 parts out of 50 whole, all right, and then converting that to a decimal. All right, the relative frequency that is blue is 18 parts divided by 50. When you divide 18 divided by 50, you get the decimal notation of 0.36. All right, you could convert that to a percent if you needed to for like a pie chart or something else, but to represent it as a relative frequency, we represent a decimal notation. All right, and then the relative frequency of white would be 12 divided by 50. All right, literally, if I were finding that, I'm just going to take 12 and divide it by 50, and that's the number that I'm going to put inside for the relative frequency. All right, it's 0.24. So the individuals who chose white were 12 out of 50 in the whole. That's a relative frequency of 0.24. All right, and once you get done with calculating the individual relative frequencies, all of them should add up to one whole. All right, because 40% of the respondents chose red, 36% of the respondents chose blue, and 24% of the respondents chose white. And all of that should add up to 100%, which as decimal notation is one whole, all right? One whole or 100%, those are both the same number, just represented different ways, all right? But again, we want to put the decimal notation as relative frequency, but you should know, in a way to kind of check yourself, is that all those relative frequencies should add up to one, all right? Let's move on. We can kind of think, I already kind of talked about this a bit, but if you want to convert it over to a percent, all you need to do is just move the decimal 2 places to the right, all right? Converting any decimal to a percent is multiplying it by 100, and effectively that just means move the decimal 2 places to the right. All right, so now then we can go about kind of representing this data, this relative frequency, in a data representation called a pie chart, and that's what we're going to kind of work on. All right, so if you've got a pie, you know that pie is worth 100%. All right, one whole pie is 100%. All right, so if you've got your relative frequencies here that you worked on and you converted those to a percent, you would want to break off, 40% of the pie. So if I'm thinking about 40%, well, if I split the pie in half, that's 50%. So I'm thinking maybe just like a little bit less, all right, would be 40%, all right? So then we have the 40%, and those are the individuals that chose red, right? So you could take your pie, you can kind of break off 40% of it. That's going to be red, all right? Then you've got 36% is blue. Well, if we had, that was 50%, so I'm thinking, that was probably 40%. The 36 is probably going to be right there. So I'm just kind of using a little bit of an estimation right here. Pie charts, when you're drawing it like this, a lot of times when you're drawing it, it's hard to get it exact, all right? I'm going to show you a program in here that makes it really easy to make a pie chart in just a second. But we've got the 36% that we just broke off, and that's going to be blue, all right? And then the remaining is white, all right? So you have red, white, and blue, and you've got 40% chose red, 36% chose blue. Well, if you kind of take those numbers and think about it a little bit, you know that 100% represents the whole pie. So if we took 40 plus 36, that's 76, and we took that away from 100, you'd find 24% is left over. So the white would be representing 24%, all right? And that's, how to make a pie chart, all right? So you're just going to break off the percent, however much, and you're going to title it whatever that percent was representing, all right? That's kind of a rough way to be able to do it just by hand, all right? You can think about when you're making a pie chart, and you're making a pie chart for different percentages, you could think about splitting your pie into half, all right? That would make 50% each. If we split them in half again, all right, well, there's fourths now, so that means that every piece is worth 25%, all right? So if you had something that you were working on and you're like, I need to break off about 15%. Well, this is kind of how you would do that. I would break off the pie, kind of cut it in half, that's 50% on each side, cut that in half, that's 25% for each one. So I know 15% is going to be less than 25%. If I took this 25% and I kind of divided it into 5 equal parts, all right, and that would say each equal part is worth about 5%. All right, and so if I needed 15%, I could say, well, 3 of those 5% would be 15%, and so this shaded part would kind of represent roughly 15%. All right, so you can think of the benchmark fraction decimals and percents, which is like standard fraction decimals and percents, and use that knowledge to kind of help you find the portion, whatever portion that you use, whatever number that you're trying to be able to break off inside the pie, kind of compare that to a standard fraction decimal percent and your knowledge of that, and it may kind of help you kind of to kind of piece it out and figure it out, all right? There's another more exact way to be able to do that, and that's by going to Desmos.com, all right? I'm going to give you this, you can kind of see that on your screen. Let me put this back up, all right? You've got this, this web address, desmos.com/calculator/BD51, all right? The way that I just found that really quickly is go to Google. You can go Desmos, all right, pie chart. Type that in there, all right, and it's going to pull up this pie chart right there. When you pull it up, all right, it's already got a pie chart that's made for you, all right, and you've got somebody has gone in and written the code, the formula for being able to have a pie chart, broken into spaces. And then up here where it says this little squiggly L equals bracket 33, 33, 33, that's the different percentages that you can put. That's where you're going to put your percentages, all right? So in the example that we had a while ago, where you had 24%, 36%, and 40. 40% were red, 36% were blue, 24%. We can make this same pie chart using this Desmos, all right? So we could say we've got 24% was white, all right, 36% was blue, and 40% was red, all right? Well, if I make a pie chart out of that, I could put those numbers inside that little bracket right there, and it would make me a pie chart over here. By the way, those numbers should always add up to 100, all right? Because 100% is the whole. So when you add these three numbers, they should add up to 100. If you don't, you're going to have a janky looking pie. So that's another way that you can do this, is by going to Desmos.com, searching in Google Desmos Pie Chart, pulling up this page, and then putting your percentages inside the brackets and seeing how it kind of divvies up. And if you ever have to turn that in or something like that for my class, you can simply just screenshot that pie chart and turn that in as part of your assignment. But yeah, that's how you make a pie chart that's really exact. A lot of times if you want to make a pie chart that's really exact, you're going to need a computer program to help you. If not, then you could use kind of your knowledge of benchmark or standard fraction decimals and percents to help you kind of break off the piece that you actually need, compare your numbers, and break off the piece so that it's, that it looks, at least relatively close to what 15%, like in this example, would be. But if you have any questions, you can comment down below, all right? My students, you can send me an email if you have any questions. I hope you have a great day.